When we used to freak off, when we were so in love, there were no questions asked. It felt right. Like it literally made sense for the next step in our sex life together.
Text messages and email chains and BlackBerry messages from 2007, from 2009, where Cassie is confessing her love to Diddy, or I'm a very lucky woman, I miss you, and I'd fly wherever you need me, I love you. And then you see Diddy respond, I love you so much, it makes me cry. And then Cassie writing back, you hungry pop. But I'm thinking, just from my perspective, that around those time frames, she was still relatively young. For the most part, she was in her early 20s.
What is Sean Diddy Combs trying to hide? In the first explosive week of Cassie's lawsuit, shocking claims about wild parties came out, and Diddy's desperate attempts to shut her down might reveal more than he wants us to know.
Cassie has been very forthcoming in answering these questions. She's showing she is asking for a freak off, or she's, asking, about just more intimate details from her relationship with him. Because to your point, Jesse, a lot of this stuff, some of these messages that we did see in court, Cassie say, Pop, I really miss you. And Diddy responding in these messages, me too, baby. Damn, I can't wait until I see you. You see a 2010 message where Cassie says, so you hung up. It's like I need to have something written out to say to you with no breathing room, or you'll get mad at me. I haven't talked to you at all. I know you have 3 minutes because, around this time, he is running a bunch of businesses. He's going to board meetings. He's traveling across the country. But it seems like, Cassie, from her point of view, just by reading these messages, that you could kind of tell that she was just somebody, at least from my perspective, somebody that was young and in love and just wanted her boyfriend around her that time.
She wrote to Combs in an email, in order for me to be more open with the things we do in bed, I need to feel safe, like home, like this is my husband, and this is the only man that will ever have this aggressive sexual side of me. When we used to freak off, when we were so in love, there were no questions asked. It felt right. Like it literally made sense for the next step in our sex life together.
The first week of Cassie's lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs has already shaken the music industry. This isn't just celebrity drama. It's about what she exposed. Cassie, who became famous as a singer and model while dating Diddy, shared graphic details about the years of control, fear, and strange behavior she says she experienced. One of the most shocking claims was about something she called freak-offs. So, what exactly is a freak-off? According to Cassie, these were planned events where she says she was forced to take part in sexual acts with others, all at Diddy's demand. The term has become a key part of her case, not just because of the details, but because it shows how someone in power may have tried to break her down and control her. These allegations grabbed major attention, and they go way beyond gossip. They point to a bigger issue, how some powerful people in the entertainment world may cross serious boundaries to stay in control. Cassie's legal team didn't just speak in vague terms. They brought receipts, real examples, and specific stories from their 10-year relationship. She said these freak-offs weren't rare, they happened often, and were meant to keep her feeling powerless and scared. Cassie says she was stuck in a toxic cycle where fear kept her from leaving, and where Diddy's actions slowly took away her sense of self. If Diddy's reaction to the lawsuit tells us anything, it's that he's seriously worried about what might come next. This isn't just a legal battle. It's sparking a bigger conversation about how power works in the entertainment world. For years, Diddy was seen as a top music mogul, but Cassie's story paints a different picture, one where unchecked power leads to serious abuse. Her claims are disturbing, but they're also highlighting deeper problems that have been ignored for too long. Experts in celebrity culture are calling this a turning point for accountability in Hollywood and the music industry. Allegations like this remind us that fame can sometimes hide bad behavior and help powerful people silence victims for years. Cassie's testimony is just the start, but it's already being closely watched by fans, advocates, and insiders. It might signal that change is finally coming. If Cassie's claims are proven true, the impact on Diddy's career could be huge. His carefully built reputation, from music to brand deals, could collapse fast. Diddy's powerful image has always been part of his success, but now that image is falling apart. And Cassie's legal team says this is just the beginning. They're planning to bring even more evidence, more witnesses, and more examples soon. If what's already come out is this explosive, the next phase could be even more damaging. Just 1 week into the case, it's clear the stakes are sky high. Cassie's decision to take on someone as powerful as Diddy is already being seen as an act of real courage. It might be the start of a long overdue reckoning in the entertainment world. But Diddy's team is likely planning their next move behind the scenes. And how he responds next could show us just how much he really has to lose.
Attorney essentially using these text messages to say to her, well, listen, you again were a willing participant, you continue this relationship with him. And the defense is highlighting that through those text messages and through the conversations Ms. Ventura has been having. But it also goes both ways, because also in those text messages, which there are some ones for the prosecution here, she discusses how he has been physically violent towards her. They discuss the freak-offs and a number of other things that really go to show that there was some sort of physical violence within the relationship, threats of force and things like that, which the government essentially has to prove.
I have felt profound anger that she has been subjected to sitting in front of a person who tried to break her. So, to him and all of those who helped him along the way, please know this: you did not. Over the past 5 days, the world has gotten to witness the strength and bravery of my wife, freeing herself of her past. There has been speculation online surrounding how it must feel for me to sit there and listen to my wife's testimony. I have felt so many things sitting there. I have felt tremendous pride and overwhelming love for Cassie. I have felt profound anger that she has been subjected to sitting in front of a person who tried to break her. So, to him and all of those who helped him along the way, please know this: you did not. You did not break her spirit nor her smile that lights up every room. You did not break the souls of a mother who gives the best hugs and plays the silliest games with our little girls. You did not break the woman who has made me a better man. This week has been extremely challenging, but also remarkably empowering and healing for me. I hope that my testimony has given strength and a voice to other survivors and can help others who have suffered to speak up and also heal from abuse and fear. For me, the more I heal, the more I can remember. And the more I can remember, the more I will never forget.
When powerful people feel threatened, their first instinct is to take control. And Diddy's actions since the lawsuit began show just how much he has to lose. After Cassie dropped her explosive allegations, insiders say Diddy has been doing everything he can to silence her and take back control of the story. But with every move, he's starting to look more and more desperate. Reports suggest that Diddy's team reacted quickly. Legal experts close to the case believe he's already putting serious pressure behind the scenes, using private negotiations and possibly legal threats. The goal? To push Cassie into a quiet settlement before more details are exposed. Why a settlement? Because it would stop new evidence from coming out, end public testimony, and most importantly for Diddy, keep the case out of a courtroom full of reporters. But that raises a bigger question. Why is he trying so hard to shut this down? What is he afraid might still be revealed? There are also rumors that Diddy's team is trying hard to manage his public image. PR experts say he's using a tactic called strategic silence, staying quiet and hoping the story fades away on its own. It's a common strategy. Don't speak, don't add fuel, and wait for the public to move on. But this time, it's not working. The story is only gaining more attention. And Diddy's silence isn't protecting him. It's making him look even more calculated, even more cornered. Another troubling detail has come up. Diddy's alleged long history with non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. Reports say he's used NDAs for years to stop people close to him from speaking out. The idea is simple. If they can't talk, they can't expose the truth. These NDAs may have helped keep things quiet in the past, but not anymore. Cassie has broken her silence, even if there were past attempts to stop her from speaking out, long before this lawsuit. This isn't the first time a powerful celebrity tried to hide controversy. Remember Harvey Weinstein? He used NDAs, legal threats, and hush money to keep women quiet, until the truth finally came out and his empire fell apart. Diddy's approach looks familiar. It's the same playbook. But once the public sees how the game is played, it often backfires. Trying to silence victims doesn't build trust. It creates more suspicion. Now people are starting to ask, Why is Diddy, a billionaire with massive influence, going to such extreme lengths to silence one woman? What is he trying to hide that's so damaging he'd risk destroying his entire legacy? These are the questions Cassie's lawsuit is forcing into the spotlight, and Diddy's silence isn't helping. In fact, it's making things worse. And here's where things get even more serious for him. Cassie isn't backing down. Despite the reported pressure and efforts to discredit her, she's moving forward with her case. That confidence suggests she might have even more evidence. And if it goes public, it could be devastating for Diddy. If that's true, then Diddy's attempts to shut her down aren't just desperate, they're likely to fail. One thing is clear. Diddy is in damage control mode, fighting to protect everything he's built. But with Cassie standing strong, refusing to be silenced, his empire could collapse under the weight of her truth. And Cassie's courage is echoing far beyond this one case. She's not just fighting for herself. She's opening the door to a bigger conversation about power, control, and abuse in the entertainment world. So the real question is, how far will Diddy go to keep his secrets buried? And how far is Cassie willing to go to uncover the truth? Stay tuned, because her fight is just beginning.
Of a job this week as I thought they would.
Yeah. And you're right to point out that the onus is on the prosecutors. The defense can simply stand up and have nothing to say. It's totally up to the prosecutor. So let's move to that side of the courtroom. I had a judge on earlier this morning who said that she doesn't see a racketeering conviction. I reminded her we're a week into an 8-week trial. So there's more to come. But what do you see as it relates to that specific charge and what we heard from the Ventura testimony and just the earliest part of Don Richard's testimony?
Right, and I've got to agree with that judge. What I said, I spoke with your dear colleague Laura earlier in the week, and I said, I don't see it yet. That doesn't mean we won't see it, but because Ms. Ventura has been promoted as the star witness, I don't think it's established there. And here's why. I think that there's a good bit of time being spent on domestic abuse. And while the domestic abuse is hideous, it is horrible, there's no justifying it, he's not charged with it, Victor. So they're using it in order to show that there was this environment of coercion, but there's several things that Ms. Ventura said that lean the other way. So whether it was the initial questioning where she said the reason why she started doing the freak offs was because she loved him, whether it was her testimony that she started to view it really was like a job, that she was the person who was making the arrangements. She was the person who was contacting the travel agent for the escorts. She was the person who was selecting the different escorts based on certain parameters. None of that testimony necessarily goes to what the prosecution is hoping to prove. But here's the other thing I'll point out. The jury may be looking at Ms. Ventura as a co-conspirator, as a willing participant in a criminal enterprise. That doesn't necessarily mean that there wasn't a criminal enterprise. It just means to me that the prosecution is going a long way to try to prove that Ms. Ventura was forced into an action that I think they can get their proof on where Mr. Combs is concerned, whether Ms. Ventura was involved by force or whether she was involved by choice. It would still be a crime if they can use the rest of the time they have in this trial to show that the racketeering and the sex trafficking actually exist.
Cassie's fight isn't just about speaking up. It's about taking a bold stand in the face of overwhelming power. Where most people in her position might choose to quietly settle or step back, Cassie is doing the exact opposite. She's moving forward, holding her ground and refusing to be silenced, even as the pressure builds around her. Her decision to take on someone as powerful and influential as Diddy, not just behind closed doors, but in full public view, has turned this lawsuit into something much bigger than one case. It's now a symbol of resistance, of pushing back against a system that has long favored the powerful and silenced the vulnerable. For years, Sean "Diddy" Combs has been one of the biggest names in entertainment, a self-made mogul with an empire that spans music, fashion, media, and lifestyle. He's been seen as untouchable, a man who controls the narrative and protects his image at all costs. But Cassie is challenging that narrative in a way no one else has. She's not just accusing Diddy of terrible behavior. She's pulling back the curtain on how people in power have used fear, money, and influence to control others for decades. And what makes her actions even more powerful is the resistance she's reportedly facing behind the scenes. According to insiders, she's been hit with legal pressure, smear campaigns, and attempts to discredit her character. These are common tactics when powerful people feel threatened. The goal is to make victims second-guess themselves, to scare them into silence. But Cassie hasn't backed down. Not even a little. Her refusal to stay silent is sending a powerful message. You don't get to control me anymore. It's a message that's resonating far beyond this one lawsuit. In an industry where silence has often been the price of survival, Cassie is proving that it's possible to speak up and fight back. She's rewriting the rules. Instead of following the usual script of settling quietly, disappearing from the spotlight, or being pressured into silence, she's standing tall. And that's forcing the entertainment industry and the public to look closer at the way power is abused and protected behind the scenes. But make no mistake, this kind of courage comes with real consequences. Taking legal action against someone as rich and powerful as Diddy is not just emotionally exhausting, it's professionally risky. In Hollywood, lawsuits like this can quietly close doors, end careers, and make people in power see you as a problem rather than a victim. Cassie knows that, and she's doing it anyway. That's what makes her decision so important, and so brave. And she's not just impacting her own story. Insiders say Cassie's courage is already inspiring others. More people are reportedly reaching out to share their experiences. Victims who've stayed silent for years but now feel like maybe they don't have to anymore. They're watching her and realizing that maybe they aren't alone. That maybe someone finally cracked the wall. For decades, the entertainment industry operated under an unspoken agreement. You stay quiet, we'll take care of you. But Cassie isn't playing by those rules. She's tearing up that agreement in real time, and it's sending shockwaves through the industry. What's even more compelling is the quiet confidence coming from Cassie's legal team. Some legal insiders believe they haven't revealed everything yet, that there could be more evidence, more documents, more witnesses still to come. If that's true, then this case could get even more explosive than it already is. And if those next revelations are as damaging as the first ones, Diddy's empire could begin to crumble piece by piece. It wouldn't just hurt his reputation. It could threaten his entire brand, his business deals, and the legacy he's spent decades building. But this isn't just about bringing Diddy down. This is about what happens when someone finds the strength to stand up to the system and refuses to be scared into silence. Cassie's bravery isn't just shaking one man's image, it's shaking the entire industry. She's showing survivors everywhere that their stories matter, that the fear, intimidation, and pressure used to keep them quiet doesn't have to win. So what happens if she succeeds? What if this case completely destroys Diddy's carefully crafted image? That fallout wouldn't just mark the end of a celebrity's reign. It could change how we see power, accountability, and silence in Hollywood forever. As the trial continues, one thing is clear. Cassie isn't just fighting for herself. She's fighting for every voice that was told to stay quiet. And if she wins, it won't just be a legal victory. It'll be a cultural shift.
Interesting. So Dawn Richard, she faced a few questions on Friday. She'll be back on the stand on Monday. The difference, one of the differences here is that Cassie Ventura's civil case against Combs and his companies, that's been settled. Richard's civil lawsuit is still pending. Does that impact how these attorneys approach her if they try to color this as some way of I guess, supporting her civil case? How does that difference impact the approach to these witnesses?
I think that can be argued either way. For instance, where the fact that Ms. Ventura's case, her civil case is already settled and the money's already been received, to me, that doesn't count against her. Perhaps it counts to her credibility because she chose to participate in the criminal trial anyway. However, where Ms. Richard is concerned, the fact that she is participating when, frankly, a criminal conviction may harm her ability to recover. It may harm Mr. Combs' ability to have the finances, the funding to be able to pay any recovery. So there are risks either way. I just think that as people are watching, they need to remember trials involve humans, and humans are messy. So you don't have any purity tests in terms of your witness is on the stand and has never done anything wrong, or your defendant is on the stand and has never done anything right. There's a lot going on both sides, and it really is up to the jury to ferret that out as long as they're given the right facts and the proper instructions from the judge about the law.
Monique Presley helping us understand it. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Joining me now is CNN senior legal analyst and former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, Ellie Honig. Okay, Ellie, before it began, you wrote and said it's overwhelmingly likely to end in a conviction, but it is not a cakewalk. Do you want to take any of that back now that we're into the trial?
No, I'm going to stick with that exactly, Michael. So I think the first part of that is overwhelmingly likely to result in conviction because we saw the evidence this week. I think Cassie Ventura was an extremely effective witness for the prosecution. I think she came across as credible and sympathetic and realistic in the way she described what happened to her. I think that video that we've been showing is incredibly compelling and visceral. But here's why it's not a cakewalk. The prosecutor's job here is not to prove that Sean Combs was a bad guy, a terrible guy. In fact, the defense got up and said he is a bad guy. He did commit domestic violence, but the charges here, the charges are the thing. This is not a state prosecution. This is not a domestic violence prosecution. This is a federal prosecution for racketeering, forcible sex trafficking, and then interstate prostitution. And I think as bad and damning as the evidence is, it's going to be tough for prosecutors, I think, to get it to meet the definition of racketeering and forcible sex trafficking.
Okay, and one final point, correct me if I'm wrong, but consent does not provide Diddy a defense here, but to the extent that they're seeking to show that she was a willing participant, it seems like they're just trying to make the whole situation and everybody involved part of some ugly enterprise and turn the jury off. Do I have it right?
Well, so two things. So on the sex trafficking charges, there's two variations of them. The more serious variation is by force, threats, or coercion. So if she consented, that would negate that. There's a less serious variation that's just interstate prostitution that carries a much lower penalty. To the larger point, the first count in this case is a racketeering conspiracy. I used to charge this all the time. Traditionally, that charge is used for mob families, for drug trafficking organizations. You can see it applied in other ways, but they need to show that Sean Combs was at the head of an organization, an organized group that committed multiple interconnected crimes for a common purpose. And I don't think Cassie Ventura's testimony on its own gets prosecutors there, but this is what I'm looking for in the coming weeks. I think they're going to build this out. I think they're going to show that this was not just a troubled domestic relationship, but prosecutors are going to try to show that this was a larger pattern of organized activity. I think it's going to be tough. I think they're going to have a hard time making out that racketeering charge, but I do think they've introduced some powerful evidence that can set them on their way towards it.
I'm going to put a social media up and we'll explore it together, but I want to say something. Criminal enterprise, he's the only one at the table. Enterprise with whom?
Yeah. Look, it's a good point. Technically, you can have a racketeering enterprise of one. It is not ideal. I mean, when I charge federal racketeering cases, the fewest defendants I ever had was maybe 5 or 6. I have 25 defendant cases, and I think count on the defense trying to exploit that. They're going to say, folks, they're trying to build this up into more than it is.
What happens when an empire built on power, wealth, and decades of influence begins to crack under the weight of truth? That might be the very question keeping Diddy awake at night. Cassie's lawsuit is more than just a legal dispute. It's a direct threat to the very foundation of Diddy's empire. For years, Diddy has been celebrated as a music mogul, a trendsetter, and a titan in both entertainment and business. But the events unfolding in this case suggest that his image may have been carefully constructed to conceal a darker reality. Diddy isn't just any celebrity. He's long been seen as untouchable, a man who turned his success in music into a billion-dollar brand spanning fashion, alcohol, television, and more. His collaborations with major brands like Ciroc Vodka and Sean John made him a powerhouse, far beyond hip-hop. But that very empire, which once looked impenetrable, is now showing signs of vulnerability. And the cause, one woman's refusal to stay silent. Cassie's allegations don't just challenge Diddy's character. They threaten to dismantle the myth of his invincibility. the gravity of this moment cannot be overstated. This isn't just about accusations from a former partner. This is about a shift in the culture that once enabled powerful men to act without consequence. Cassie's claims, which include disturbing terms like freak-offs and alleged coercion, have peeled back the curtain on a system that has protected men like Diddy for too long. The fallout is already in motion. According to insider reports, brands connected to Diddy are quietly reconsidering their partnerships. The entertainment industry thrives on image, and no brand wants to be associated with a scandal of this magnitude. Corporate relationships that took years to build can vanish overnight when controversy strikes. And while no major company has publicly severed ties yet, behind closed doors, the conversations are happening. Deals may be paused. Future projects may be shelved. The slow bleed of Diddy's business interests has already begun. We've seen this pattern before. R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby. Men who were once industry giants fell not just because of legal proceedings, but because the public stopped looking away. With each new accusation, each hidden truth brought to light, their influence crumbled. And it happened fast. Music pulled from streaming services, awards rescinded, names erased from credits. These are the signs of collapse. And Diddy could be next. The role of social media in all this can't be overstated. Platforms like Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube have amplified Cassie's voice in a way that would have been impossible just a decade ago. Every development in this case is dissected in real time, with hashtags pushing the story to millions of users around the world. This digital attention doesn't just keep the story alive, it drives it forward. In a world where narratives are shaped by virality, Cassie has the advantage of public momentum, and that momentum is dangerous for Diddy. Public opinion can influence everything from business decisions to jury perceptions. When the court of public opinion turns, it becomes nearly impossible to repair the damage. Especially when the allegations at the center of the controversy speak to broader issues, society is no longer willing to tolerate abuse, manipulation, and the unchecked power of celebrity elites. What's especially concerning for Diddy is that Cassie's legal team has hinted that more evidence could surface. This isn't just a one-time accusation. If there are emails, messages, videos, or even witness testimony that back her claims, it could devastate Diddy's case and his career. Allies who are currently standing by him might quickly turn away if more damning revelations come to light. In scandals like this, loyalty is often fleeting, and survival instincts take over. Even more damning is the re-examination of Diddy's past that's beginning to take shape. While this lawsuit focuses on his relationship with Cassie, it has led many to ask, what else might he be hiding? Are there others who stayed silent? Will more voices now come forward? Once a high-profile figure is under the microscope, every rumor, every accusation, no matter how old, gets a second look. And in the age of digital receipts, even the past can come back with a vengeance. But perhaps the most seismic impact of this case isn't limited to Diddy alone. It's what the case represents for the industry at large. For decades, Hollywood and the music business have operated on a system of silence, where NDAs, hush money, and behind-the-scenes coercion were all tools used to protect the powerful. Victims were silenced not because they lacked truth, but because they lacked influence. Cassie's refusal to play that game has triggered a cultural flashpoint. This lawsuit isn't happening in a vacuum. It exists alongside a broader reckoning, one ushered in by movements like Me Too, Time's Up, and countless survivor-led initiatives that have challenged the entertainment industry's toxic status quo. What's different now is that people are paying attention. The media isn't brushing these stories aside anymore. Survivors are finding solidarity, and the public is more willing to believe them. Diddy's current predicament is evidence that even the most powerful can't count on silence anymore. What's at stake for Diddy isn't just money or contracts, it's his entire legacy. A man who once stood atop the world, controlling narratives, and curating his image to perfection, is now facing the one thing he can't manipulate: the truth. If Cassie's case continues to build, and if more evidence surfaces, Diddy could find himself facing not just professional ruin, but total exile from the very world he helped shape. And what about Cassie? Her courage is already reverberating throughout the industry. By standing up to someone as powerful as Diddy, she's become a symbol for others who've been silenced. Her bravery has shown that no matter how massive the figure, they're not immune to accountability. Behind the scenes, sources suggest that other potential survivors have started to speak up. Some privately, others contemplating going public. If more do, the ripple effect could transform this from one high-profile case into a widespread movement within the entertainment world. What we're witnessing isn't just a celebrity scandal. It's a shift in how power is perceived and challenged. If this case proves anything, it's that the era of silent suffering is ending. Survivors now have a platform, an audience, and a growing support network. And perhaps most importantly, they have precedent. Will Hollywood evolve in the face of this reckoning? Or will it attempt to protect its own once again, hiding behind flashy PR campaigns and carefully worded statements? That question remains unanswered. But one thing is undeniable. Diddy's case is forcing the industry to confront truths it has long ignored. Cassie's stand is a direct challenge to the system. Her willingness to endure public scrutiny, legal retaliation, and industry backlash speaks volumes. She isn't just seeking justice for herself, she's paving the way for others to do the same. And in doing so, she's reshaping the rules of engagement in an industry where power once meant protection. As the trial continues to unfold, the stakes will only grow. If more revelations come to light, if Cassie's claims are validated in court or corroborated by others, it could mark the end of Diddy's reign as one of entertainment's most powerful figures. But even if no legal verdict is reached, the damage to his legacy may already be done. Because now, every project he touches, every public appearance he makes, every endorsement he tries to secure will be viewed through the lens of this case. And no amount of brand partnerships or curated interviews can change that. The curtain has been pulled back, and as the world watches, one thing becomes clear. This isn't just about Cassie versus Diddy. This is about an industry being forced to face itself. And once the truth starts coming out, there's no putting it back in the dark. So, what will happen next? Will Diddy manage to regain control of the narrative? Or will this case mark the beginning of a long overdue collapse? One thing is certain. This story is far from over, and with each passing day, more people are beginning to listen. Stay tuned.